For the first time since 1990, there's no rap songs in Billboard's Hot 100 Top 40 spot. And later we find out it's because they changed their algorithm, and it's like different thresholds to stay in the top 40 now, but that specific headline did start a conversation though. And a lot of people started speculating if rap is dead, which in my opinion is a crazy take. I think rap as we know it is far from dead. However, I feel like we might be slowly approaching the era where mainstream and commercial rap might be becoming less popular, and underground rap and underground adjacent scene might slowly start heading into the mainstream eye. And there's a few reasons why I think so, but before I begin, I just want to say that this video is completely my opinion. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. If you agree or disagree, I'm open to hearing other sides, but I do think that this is an interesting conversation to have. So let's get into the reasons why I think the underground scene might slowly head into the direction of the mainstream. Number one is the polished sound. A lot of the mainstream rap has a really clean, polished sound, and I don't think it's a bad thing. And also, all of these big names and mainstream rappers got to where they got to partially through that sound. I think it is also obviously very important to note that without a lot of the mainstream acts, the underground wouldn't be where it is right now. So I think it is fair to give the credit to all the mainstream artists out there. However, that is also what makes the underground so much more special, because under this one big umbrella, there's so much variety in the sound. You got the heavy distorted beats that just drown you in the 808s. You got the beautiful sampled beats. You got cloud rap kind of beat. There's something for everyone in the underground, and the sound is also evolving. Obviously, a lot of the artists in the underground want to get that Billboard spot. They want to win certain awards. They want to become more mainstream, and a lot of that pushes the envelope of the sound creatively, unless they're just paying homage, which also happens a lot in the underground. But we've all seen the memes about the leopard print and the British flag and the wire headphones and the iPhone 4. Those are like a base set for the creative direction when it comes to the underground. But I do have to say, creatively, the underground is constantly evolving. Whether it is the general creative direction, the outfits, the visuals, or whether it is music. And I think the fresh outlook on the art might start bleeding more into the mainstream as people are slowly getting tired of the similar formulaic sound. I think over the years, people's ears will get trained to a newer, different sound, and that's when the underground scene, I feel like, will step in. Reason number two, direct to fan relationships. Mainstream artists do stuff like interviews, podcast appearances, and a lot of the time do it on low interaction platforms. We see a lot of mainstream artists go on Aiden Ross and Kai Cenat, and obviously still a live stream, but with hundreds of thousands of people watching, it's a lot harder for them to directly interact with their fans. Also, let's obviously not discredit the fact that it does bring some pretty freaking great entertainment. I mean, 6ix9ine has been on a generational clip farm run recently, but also there's so many moments with mainstream artists, not even necessarily just rappers, that feel kind of forced and set up. In that sense, the underground artists do it better. A lot of them go live on Instagram, guest people, play snippets, post stories, make second accounts and start posting on there, so it feels more personal. Some of them obviously still go on bigger streams, and it's good because it helps them grow, but a lot of the times they have a lot more direct to fan communication. Part of it is because they're underground artists, right? It's a lot easier for them to do that than someone with like millions of fans. Underground shows are a prime example of that because it's a smaller venue, it's less people, so you're more likely to interact with your favorite artist. However, that's where the community gets built, and as they go up as an artist, the community kind of watches the whole journey, and it makes them feel more ingrained in that journey. I've said it before, and I will say it a billion times again, but I'll never forget the times when I got to see Ken perform in a smaller venue with a smaller crowd. But he is a prime example of that, because I would say Ken Carson is fairly mainstream, like very mainstream. Yet because of how the community was built initially, a lot of the fans stuck around through the entire journey to where he is today. The community that gets built is what I feel like the mainstream is missing. And that brings me to my third point. Sales don't mean anything. I feel like music is slowly following the pattern of social media, in a sense of like, there's so many influencers out there with millions of followers that you don't know, but they still have millions of followers. But then there's also influencers that have maybe a couple 100,000 followers, but they are so ingrained in the culture that even though they don't have a lot of followers, people still know who they are. They get recognized a lot more in public, they get more photos taken with them, there's more inside jokes in their communities, and I feel like music is slowly heading into that direction because sales don't mean anything anymore. The first day stream numbers don't mean anything anymore. You know, the industry uses these numbers to determine the success of an artist and so, but I feel like we're getting to a point where the community is a lot more important than that. I think NBA YoungBoy is a great example of a mainstream artist that has built an amazing community. YoungBoy has some genuinely die-hard fans, and it's freaking awesome to see. And I feel like that is what a lot of the rap game is currently missing. I also feel like that's what's gonna bring up the underground to a next level. I feel like we're slowly heading into the times where labels or you yourself can't just buy you stream. Because you can have 10 million streams, but if nobody cares about you, nobody cares about you. I feel like we're heading into the era, especially with the way the internet is developing and everything, where community building that core fan base is becoming so important. Fake Mink is a really good example of an underground artist that managed to build that core community. And I guarantee you, throughout the next few years, if he plays his cards right, those people will stick by his side. Him going live on Instagram on the way to work and just talking to his fans live built that community for him. And we already see how hard they ride for him every time people call him an industry plant, because there's always one of them in the comments saying, hey, I literally watched this man work a regular job. I literally watched him stream to 9 people. And with that being said, it makes the journey of him as an artist so much more interesting, and it builds the community so much more. We're heading into an era where labels have to start working a lot more with social media experts, people that can genuinely build communities around these artists online. And community building is going to become just as much of a marketing tool as anything else that labels do to promote their artists. Now, I do also have to know that we're not just going to act like promos don't exist, especially in the underground. You got pages like Hyperpop Daily, Underground Sound, so many blogs constantly doing promos. We've seen artists come up on promos, but if you have no catalog, if your music sucks, and if you don't have an initial community, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to grow. I mean, think about how many promos you've seen while scrolling on Instagram that just never stuck to you. You checked it out and you were like, okay, cool, on to the next. And I feel like if mainstream artists manage to find a way to start building community, it'll be a lot more beneficial for both the artists and the fan, because you'll feed your fan base. Point 4, I feel like the underground feeds the meme culture a lot more right now. The underground community has so many inside jokes, so many little things that if you're not a part of the community, you might not even really know. The Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely haircut video, the Can preset video.
You gotta turn your auto all the way up there. Yeah,
Two Hall is struggling to open a water bottle. There's just so many funny, silly moments in the underground that just kind of stuck and just kind of happened naturally. If you scroll through Instagram Reels, so many of the meme videos have an underground rap-like beat behind them that are like completely just distorted into the oblivion, farting 808s into your ears. And mainstream artists used to have that magic to them. Think Black Beatles and the Mannequin Challenge. Think Drake's Kiki Do You Love Me. Those were moments on the internet that were fueled by the mainstream artists. And when we think back to those moments, we think of them very fondly. It was like a really fun time. But I feel like after COVID happened, and after we spent so much time on our phone, we became so familiar with the social media world that it's extremely hard to fabricate and push a moment, a trend. You can't really fabricate that magic anymore, and it has to just happen naturally. And I think that's the beauty of the underground as we know it. So many of these artists have so much content about them being put online that their funny moments just happen to be captured on camera, and then they become a trend, and then everybody does it. Or like just a random crazy music just going viral, meme rappers blowing up. That is the magic that the mainstream once had that I feel like we're slowly starting to see more of in the underground. And although sure, I feel like some moments might be paid and might be fabricated in the underground, but if that's the case, they found a way to do it a lot more naturally, and feel like the mainstream has a lot more to learn about it. Denzel Curry actually posted a story about this not long ago. He said, none of this music stuff is interesting anymore. Commercial rap is dead and I'm here for it. Stuff was trash from the jump. OG's got no respect for the younger generation. New generation don't care about the craft. There is a space where they can learn from each other. And I feel like for the most part, I agree. I think we're getting to those crossroads where the mainstream artists need to start uplifting the new talent, and both sides need to set their differences aside and work together. I feel like that's where the beauty of the art lies as a whole. I would say like I'm a fairly casual listener, right? Like I'm not no expert in the field. I don't know how every single thing works, but just generally from an outside perspective, it seems like a lot of the older artists can learn a lot more from the newer artists instead of them having to manufacture each other's sound, because the first option would make it a lot more natural. And I feel like that way the mainstream will flourish, the underground will flourish, the fans will get fed, everything all together I feel like will be a lot better if that's what happens. Because it is starting to seem that the underground scene sooner than later will take over the mainstream scene. Unless all of these artists start building extremely strong core communities, we really don't know what's gonna happen next. And there's very few artists that I can name that have those communities. So yeah, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think of this. Do you guys see a world where the underground sound will evolve enough to become mainstream? And if you agree or disagree, please let me know in the comments below. Again, like I said, so open to hearing other perspectives. Would love to keep having this conversation. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.